The BBC's Andrew Marr shut down Labour leadership candidate Lisa Nandy over her continued support for free movement, pointing out that this position had been rejected in the past elections and that the British people wanted to leave EU rules behind. The BBC's Andrew Marr savaged Labour leader candidate Lisa Nandy for continuing to advocate for free movement policies despite decisive electoral defeats for the position. Marr grilled Ms. Nandy on the immigration policy she would impose on the country if she was to become Labour leader and then Prime Minister. He clashed with the leadership candidate on the EU's freedom of movement for people as he reminded her that it was rejected twice by the British electorate. In a tense exchange, the leadership candidate admitted she was an avowed supporter of the EU's freedom of movement rules. Marr pointed out that Ms. Nandy would revert back to EU rules despite Britain being in charge of its own immigration laws. Viewers criticised the response on social media, claiming that it showed that the Labour Party had not learned a thing from their humiliation at the ballot box last year. When Marr questioned whether she would want to keep free movement rules, Ms. Nandy responded, "I do, I believe in free movement." The BBC host intervened, and that was rejected twice in 2 elections by the British electorate. Ms. Nandy explained, "I've spent the last 10 years talking about these issues and listening to those areas that voted to leave. The problem with free movement wasn't that people could come in and work for our health services or social care, it was the fact that we used it as an excuse not to invest in young people. We abolished the education maintenance grant, we abolished the nursing bursary, we got rid of university grants. We have to invest in our young people. That is how we make free movement sustainable." Earlier in the interview, Marr said, in terms of taking back control, any new government, including a Labour government in the future, is in charge of its own immigration policy. If you became Labour leader and a Labour PM, what is your immigration policy? Ms. Nandy responded, "I think we need a much more flexible immigration policy that can respond to the very different needs in the nations and regions of the UK. The immigration policy that the PM announced was a points-based policy that Labour brought in for countries outside the EU when we were last in government. It doesn't deal with the needs of areas like Scotland, that has an ageing population and needs to attract a higher workforce. We need